Okay, you guys, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today. Oh, fuck. Yeah, Ugo. Oh, my Jesus Christ. Yeah, Ugo. What? Yeah, he went in. This nigga went in. Like, fuck it. Man, we going ham. Like, yeah. Hey, like, fuck, man. That was good. No, that was a great episode of fucking Magi, man. You see, it was a great episode via the fight alone. Via the fight and the story progression alone. But it's gonna be awesome because we learned so much shit in this episode on top of having just a beautiful, outstanding fight between Ugo and Judal. It wasn't even Aladdin. Like, Aladdin, he went there, you know, like, he did, like, his thing, but he got outclassed, pretty much. It was basically Ugo. It was Ugo doing his thing, and it was like, damn. It was like, it was like that. It was like, holy fucking crap. Ugo said, you know what? Fuck this shit. Me, and it was, fuck. So before I go any further, alright, Sony Music, Sony Music, you do not own anything that pertains to this video. The thumbnail is an original photo which does not belong to you. The audio is all original, with an original soundtrack with me speaking over it. And guess what? The visuals, me. You do not own me. This video follows the rules and regulations that are set by YouTube. Now, that being said, alright? And by the way, people, look down in the description below for the link to this week's episode of Magi the Labyrinth of Magic. Now, wow. I mean, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do part by part by part because we learned a lot of things. We learned a lot of things, right? The first thing is that we learned a lot of things about the Co-Empire and Balbad, alright? So, this king, alright? So, the king of Balbad, he has to die, alright? Someone has to go behind his fucking, like, head and slit his throat from here to here, alright? Like a full half, like the entire diameter of his neck should be completely cut. Because this guy, like, seriously, like, I hate him. I fucking hate him. I fucking hate him. I fucking hate him. I fucking hate him. This guy. What happens here is that, so we learn about a few things, right? So, first of all, we get introduced to two characters, two new characters. Judal and the banker, or I guess his name is, Makiro or Makiru or something of that nature. I'm not sure exactly which one it was, but he's the guy who controlled the sheriff back in the other city where Amon's Tower was. At the same time, he is the banker for the city, for the country of Balbad, and apparently he's also associated with the Co-Empire somehow. So him and Judal appear to be the ones who are going around from country to country to country, controlling and manipulating the country so they can have a battle or war or whatever. Or be underneath the Co-Empire, we're not too sure. But Judal right now, even though Judal, who by the way, he's the other Magi, Judal, he's acting as the priest for the Co-Empire. So, what exactly that entails, I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure that he's the one who goes in there with the people who are deemed fit to be kings, and thus he helps them clear the dungeon. Just how Aladdin did that with Alibaba. Now, what happens here, well, not intentionally. Now, what happens here is that, so that's number one. Number two is that the king, he reveals that the country of Balbad right now, their economic trading routes are being controlled by the Co-Empire. I believe it there. I'm not sure. Is it their trading routes or is it their economic standing? I'm not too sure. But either way, like, their trade is being controlled by the Co-Empire, which is why Shindoria can't associate themselves with the country of Balbad, or vice versa. The country of Balbad can't associate themselves with the country of Shindoria because their trade is being completely controlled by the Co-Empire. And that's number two. And once again, this guy, even though Alibaba came to him and he was like, please help the nation, help the country, think of the people, he was like, you know, I don't care about the people in the slums. I'm like, fuck you, alright? So, fuck this guy. He's gonna die. He has to die. Either he's gonna die, get exiled, or torture. Yeah. Death, exile, torture. Something to prevent him from being king any further. Or any longer. That's number 2, alright? So number 1, again, the introduction of the 2 characters, Judal and Masaru, or Masaru, no, not Masaru, Maki, whatever his name is, right? The banker, right? Number 2 is going to be the knowledge that now the Baobab economic standing with trade is being controlled by the Co-Empire. Number 3 is after they go back, and after it's nighttime, they go back to the slums, and we have a speech with you know, Sinbad and Aladdin. They kind of like talk. Well, Sinbad himself talks in front of the people, while Alibaba just kind of stands there and watches and listens. So, what happens is after that, here comes Judal. Judal comes flying in and shit on this magical carpet, and he starts talking about all this shit. How he wants to go team up with Sinbad again, because apparently him, Sinbad, Masaru, and Jahar, they had like a past with Judal, but their past right now is unknown. But basically, number 3 here is that Judal says 2 main things before the confrontation between him and Aladdin occurs. Number 1, he says that the Co-Empire have 5 dungeon clearers, and number 2, they have an army of dungeon monsters. Now, listen, alright, I have no idea how the fuck they got an army of dungeon monsters, but they got an army of dungeon fucking monsters, alright? That's gonna be a key. And when I say key, it's gonna be a key role when it comes to actually, you know, when this war starts between the Co-Empire and whoever. They're gonna wind up wastelanding entire armies because they have an army of monsters. So that's number 4. Number 5 is going to be that after, you know, we have the because after Aladdin and Judal knows each other, they begin in the confrontation, and we now know that Judal is a man of war. The man loves war. He loves this shit. He bleeds war. So now we see the contrast between Aladdin and Judal, where Judal would rather have war on a constant basis because he said himself that he's actually bored. He has so much power that he's actually bored with his day-to-day life. And then we have Aladdin, who is a more peace-loving dude, who always tried to stop a confrontation from happening. That's number 5. Number 6 is going to be when they start fighting against each other. Actually, no. No. Number 6 is actually going to be this thing where when Judal scans the area, with like his eyes kind of start glowing and shit, so he can actually find the king contestant that Aladdin chose. Well, we see like the power levels of each person's Magi. Like we see that normal people, like the normal people that are in the back, their Magis are like really small, narrow lines. And then we see people like Morgiana and Jahar, where their Magis are much more broader when it comes to in comparison to those people in the back. And then we have Alibaba, who's actually pretty big himself, actually bigger than Morgiana when it comes to his Magoi level. And then comes Aladdin, whose Magoi is actually completely immersed in his entire body. And that's because he's a Magi. The Ruhu favor the Magi, and thus their Magoi is actually fairly strong. And then, of course, there's Sinbad, where his Magoi is literally overflowing. It is overflowing out of his body, and it's like, whoa, he has a lot of fucking Magoi. So that's number 6. Number 7 is going to be when after they start fighting against each other, they do what's called a Magoi shooting match, where they actually like take the Magoi and then they condense the Magoi into like these little like, you know, glowing balls, and then they shoot these balls at each other. But the thing here is that apparently Since both Aladdin and Judal are Magi and they are favored by the Ruhu, what winds up happening is that they wind up, their Magoi winds up canceling out each other. And thus they cannot perform a Magoi shooting match because at the end of the day, both of their Magois will cancel out each other. So that's number 7. Number 8 is magic. And what happens here is that it is explained. It is explained by Judal that when you take magic, okay, well, when you take the Ruhu and then you condense and make the Magoi, you can actually command the Ruhu to do particular tasks, and that's how he's able to create the lightning and then create the ice, the ice block, by taking all the moisture in the fog and making that giant ice and also floating. He commands the Ruhu to do a particular task via Magoi, and thus that is magic. So it's like, you know, it's a very key component because Magi, well, Aladdin at some point will also learn how to use magic. Yeah, oh yeah, to like an extreme extent, probably. Yeah. And then the next part, number 8, Ugo. Ugo, he did his thing, alright? This was so damn good. Because the way, like, what they did was that after he starts levitating, because, like, what happens is that Judal does his thunder magic, it gets blocked, and then Aladdin summons Ugo to block it. And then he goes in the air, flies, does his ice thing, the ice turns into, like, makes his ice block, the ice block breaks apart into, like, these big-ass shards. They come crashing down on everybody. Ugo jumps in the air to dodge some of the dodge some of the shards. Does like a karate chop, like a freaking like a karate chop. And then, but apparently, Judal is being protected by this Ruhu barrier, which I'm not sure how he created, but he has a Ruhu barrier. And then what happens here is that he does the chop, but some of the ice shards were still in the sky. The ice shards come flying down, and then Ugo gets hit in the back. At the same time, we have Aladdin trying to pump in more magic into Ugo, which he does, or more Magoi. But then, even though Ugo removes the shards from his back, he's still like the shards in his back made these cuts, and through these cuts is seeping out Magoi. So what happens here is that Ugo starts stumbling, and then Aladdin kind of like falls down because he's stumbling around, and he's wondering why is it that Ugo is still moving even though I stopped giving him Magoi. And then what happens is that Judal does the thunder magic in order to, you know, kill Aladdin because he's really fucking bored. And then Morgiana comes in there, Morgiana actually saves Aladdin from the lightning attack. Then Alibaba comes in there with his dagger, actually cuts through the Ruhu barrier that Judal made because he's a dungeon clearer, and thus his dagger or his short sword has also like a lot of Magoi in it. And then after that, he gets cut in the cheek. Judal sends Alibaba flying through a wall with his little like dagger, that little like wand, crystal wand thing. Then Ugo begins the systematic shutdown. First of all, pure form, just yeah. And he sends like Judal's face when he got hit with that shit. It was like, damn, it was a powerful ass strike. Then he proceeds to do like a downward punch and like kind of crushes Judal in a sense. Then does another punch that sends Judal flying. Then Judal realizes, wait a second, how is he still moving? And then he's talking to Aladdin. He's saying that you stopped giving this jinn magic, but he's still able to move. That means that he's utilizing someone else's Magoi in order to move. And then he says, that's not your jinn. So that's number like 9 right there. So, or number 8. Where we now know, apparently, that Ugo is not the jinn of Aladdin. Aladdin doesn't have full control over Ugo. In fact, he may not have none control whatsoever. Ugo just may do the shit that he does because of free will. But someone else is actually controlling Ugo by giving Ugo magic. And this may have to do with Ugo's head being somewhere else. I'm not too sure. but his head, but his head is very like, I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere else. It's somewhere aside from the actual flute, I guess. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. Maybe it is in the flute, but I don't fucking know. All right, I really don't. And then what happens here is that Judal goes for he starts flying into the air, does like a rain of these Magoi shots, which Ugo blocks. But then he makes this giant ice crystal. He pierces the ice crystal through Ugo, and he's like, "Yeah, I won." But Ugo, no, sir. Oh, no. Ugo, yeah. And then he's like squeezing. He's like squeezing this Magoi barrier, and Judal stuck in between it. And then all of a sudden, at the end, just, you know, yeah, he overcomes the Magoi barrier. He squishes Judal between his two palms, let goes, and then Judal's on the ground like a bloody mess, all bruised and bloody. And then Ugo, like this last you see of Ugo, just standing in the moonlight, mad beastly, just, you know, it was like, what? Like, it was crazy. It was great. It was a very good fight, very good bout. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I embraced it. Like, this is like the best fight I've seen. Yeah, this is the best fight I've seen in Magi so far. Ugo versus Judal. It was good. Yo, yeah. So this episode, it would have been a great, but it's above the great because we actually learned so many things that are going to be fundamental to the overall story of Magi, especially magic, the Magoi shooting matches, Judal the character himself, the Co-Empire and their 5 dungeon clears, the Co-Empire and their army of dungeon monsters, and then of course knowing that there's a way to actually scan one's magical power, meaning one's Magoi power, Magoi's power. So, you know, very important shit. So I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. King Lightning, be sure to of course rate, comment, and subscribe as always. And I'm signing out. Peace. Have a nice day.